we want to thank everybody for showing up, including the pony, an actual pony that showed up here. Wow. Wow. Guys, we did it. We've done it. I love the fact that we have our name tags up here. What you guys don't see is that they actually put our names on the backside too, just in case we forget who we are.
Oh, hey. I'm Shane, the sketchy Phillips.
Imagine if you had the wrong one. Like,
That would be obvious.
yeah. No, you're not.
This game. No, I'm sketchy. No. Yes, it is.
Well, thanks everyone for coming. This is our 4th year of being fortunate enough to be accepted by Comic-Con International to have a panel. Thanks for attending. This is the sole panel here at Comic-Con International 2019, whose subject is My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. Specifically, this is going to be a panel discussing the fandom of the 4th generation of this franchise. Some disclaimers before we start, even though we're already behind on time. My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic and associated spin-offs are the property of Hasbro. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976 allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringed, so we will be discussing the show here. The views expressed by the panelists are entirely their own and meant for entertainment purposes only. They are not the views of the panelists' employers, associates, or any organization which the panelists may be affiliated with. So that way, if you guys say anything bad here, well, it's not going to get on them. So we are midway through the 9th and final season. So as a theme for the first couple questions, I'm going to ask the panelists to limit their answers to 9 words or less.
Oh.
That's going to be hard. Can anyone count that high?
The panelists have been provided these questions earlier, so hopefully we won't have to delay as we had last year. So panelists, please introduce yourselves, including your name, your OC name, and any organizations which you may be representing. Starting close to me and heading down.
My name is Andy Reyes. My OC name is Fable Charm. I represent BabsCon, the Bay Area Brony Spectacular.
Hey, my name is Patrick Ramirez, or I go by Lance, my nickname since 2010. I go by Sir Pony Lancelot in Fandom, and I'm one of the main co-organizers of SoCal Bronies meetups.
My name is AC Race Best, OC AC Race Best, YouTube AC Race Best, yeah.
Good job. I'm Scott Kinnersley, better known as Thornwing. I'm here from Every Free Northwest, and I help volunteer at a lot of these cons. So.
I'm Shane Phillips, also known as Sketchy Wolf. I'm a hot rod artist, and I guess I do pony art too.
My name is Francis Fernandez. I was Checkers, the other guy, and I'm a podcaster, and I talk in a mic a lot. So there you go.
So you must be good at this.
No, not even a little bit.
So here's a difficult question for anyone who can answer on the panel. What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen sparrow?
African or English?
Oh, he got you.
European.
Next question.
For a European swallow, I believe it's 24 miles per hour.
How do you know this?
I believe it's 420.69 miles per hour.
Just lazy.
So to learn more about the panelists, there are a series of questions that have been developed by Post Pivot and James Lipton. Starting closest to me and going to the end of the panel, what is your favorite word?
Appreciate.
Disney.
Yeah. Beat that.
Literally.
I was informed this was a PG It's 4 letters. Wait, what? What is this little thing?
Yeah, that's 4 letters. Yeah. Mine is 4 letters too, but it's just word.
Word.
Yeah, thanks. Still like.
What is your least favorite word?
Because we've always done it this way.
It's a long word.
Depression.
Word.
Literally.
Communism.
I have no idea how I'm supposed to go.
Is this your 2020 campaign?
Okay, a fart is a terrible word. It should be something else.
Now, what turns you on?
What?
Creative, spiritually, or emotionally?
People working together.
Pretty good digital artwork.
Laughter.
I just like making people happy.
An unrestricted V8.
Mine is sappy. It's love.
What turns you off?
These beginning questions of this panel, honestly, I'm sorry.
Anything that's cringe.
Doubt.
Fandom drama.
How's that not a turn on?
An engine smaller than a V8.
Off, huh? Wow, there's a lot. Switches? Yes.
Very good. Oh my god.
Very good.
What sound or noise do you love?
Sound or noise?
Sound or noise?
Me locking the door of my house, because that means I'm home.
Fluttershy's yay.
The sound of a concert in the other room?
Anything by Daniel Ingram.
The sound of a big black V8 screaming down the highway.
The sound of it turning off.
Yeah, all right, you don't have the mic anymore.
What sound or noise do you hate?
When my neighbors, my neighbors being loud.
Police sirens, especially when I'm driving.
Is anyone saying the word no?
That little beep from Slack whenever I get a message. Because it happens all the time.
The sound of a hybrid.
The sound of people being sad when I tell a joke. They groan and say, that was terrible.
So what profession, other than your own, would you like to attempt?
Professional YouTuber. Hit that like and subscribe button, guys.
Wait, what?
Yeah, what was the question?
What profession, other than your own, would you like to attempt?
Video game developer.
Movie entertainer?
I'd be a professional billionaire.
Exotic male dancer.
Voice actor.
So what profession would you not like to do?
Cleaning up after Comic-Con.
Actually, don't have an answer for that one.
This is really hitting deep, guys. What would I not want to do? How about, janitor? Yeah.
Professional convention runner.
Exotic male dancer.
The guy who has to clean up the exotic male dancer.
And the final lifting question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I want him to show me like how many people I've like positively affected, because that's always what I'm trying to do with my life. So it'd be nice to like get a tally.
What was the question again?
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Welcome to the land of sunshine and rainbows.
I would just want him to ask, how the heck did you pull off that?
There's a line from the South Park movie that fits me great for this. It would be Mormons. Yes, Mormons was the correct answer.
You made it?
Really? That's it.
Well, now that we've got to know the panelists a little better,
Everyone's gonna leave, so thanks for coming.
Thanks for
Coming, guys. See you later.
Thanks for staying.
now here's the open-ended questions, more pertaining to the subject of the show. Panelists, when did you join the fandom, and if it applies, when did you leave it?
I joined the fandom early 2012 during season 2, last roundup, around then. I saw all the memes online and I was just like, I gotta get in on this.
I joined the fandom back in late 2010, I guess the last week in November, after someone linked me an episode to see Dragon Shy of season 1, and I just started drawing fan art of episodes, and I'm still in the fandom.
I got into the show just before season 2. My girlfriend at the time, now wife, showed me an episode of the show, of which I was really not wanting to watch, by the way. I was like, no, I don't want to watch My Little Pony. She said, give this episode a try. I did. It was Fall Weather Friends. Watched it, went, it was okay. And then I watched the whole season in like the next week. So it was a little more than okay. And yeah, still in the fandom.
I guess I started watching the show as season 4 was starting to air, and I was able to binge all the first 3 seasons and the first Equestria Girls movie. Actually, I started with the first Equestria Girls movie. It was the first thing I ever saw. And I was like, ooh, this is weird.
You got it.
And yeah, I got in late apparently, but you know, I'm here for some reason. Because it was good. And I'm still, you know, part of the fandom, I guess. I don't necessarily consider myself in or out of a fandom, but I'm a fan of the show. I participate with the fans and love it and hope it goes on for forever, even though it's ended.
I got into it right around 2011. My girlfriend at the time, not wife, showed me the show, and I didn't quite get it at first, but started warming up to it. Then I started doing some art for the show, and I don't know, it's kind of, I don't want to be that guy, it's kind of petered out a little for me.
I mean, I started, I would say, 2011 when a friend of mine learned about the meetup group and asked me to watch so that I could like join her and be a part of it. And then I think it wasn't before season 3 when I kind of fell out because unfortunately, you know, life happened and people moved on. But I certainly learned to appreciate the show very much during that time. And we got to attend like the first like Equestria LA and stuff like that. So these
That brings you back.
Woo, yeah.
Yeah. I was so drunk.
Oh yeah.
So you remember it?
There was a panel.
Usually.
At least a panel.
Yeah.
There's one there.
So what's the best part of being part of this fandom? Or at least when you were in?
I'd say it's the perseverance and making a bunch of art, being creative, and being able to express that both online and at conventions and things like that.
Best parts are the conventions. I love the conventions.
You're welcome.
I mean, the people that I've met in this fandom, some of them have become some of my best friends. and people that I know I'm going to have lifelong friendships with. Yeah, I mean, the conventions though have also been just an incredible part of it all, just so much fun. If you've never been to a pony convention, you should try it out, right, Scott?
Oh, yeah. I can suggest a couple. No, I would definitely echo Race's comments there. This fandom is something that brings out so many different kinds of people and puts them into a mix where you never know who you're going to see, who you're going to meet, who you're going to become friends with. I've met so many people over the course of the last few years that I would have never been friends with otherwise. But having a mutual like of the show, a mutual interest in something together, as fans of something that we can both relate to, has drawn us together even though we're completely different people. And that's happened for so many different folks. And I see it all the time, and I hear stories from people related to me as a convention chair. Just the conventions are a great place to do that, but it's not necessarily the only place that it happens. It happens throughout all sorts of different media, Twitter, Facebook, sharing of videos and art and YouTube content. So there's lots of different ways the fandom has brought people together, and I think that's the biggest impact that it's had. Is it's just a number of people that I've met and been able to interact with, and it's great.
I just got to say it's the people. I was a pretty bad kid in high school, and then I moved down to San Diego, and I didn't know anybody down here. So I started going to the meetups and everything, and everyone was very accepting and kind and everything. And I just got to say that the only reason why I stuck around is just the people and the sense of community. I really like that.
Yeah, there was that camaraderie, right? There was
Exactly.
That whole friendship thing was really emphasized, and people took it to heart, and it didn't matter who you were, even if you weren't really like a hardcore fan or anything, people accepted you, they wanted you to be a part of a group that, really enough, everyone ended up caring about each other to some degree. And it could have been just, someone who watched one episode and you didn't care, you just like, hey, you know what we're talking about, you know what we mean when we say certain things. And I think that's what really got to me when I was a part of it, was like, I was just some weirdo, like hanging out with you, Well, and just
Fight me IRL, bro.
Exactly. But it was just random that this group of strangers were just so welcoming to one another, and for no reason whatsoever other than kind of the shared love of this thing. And I really took that to heart when I was a part of the group.
It was like everybody came from different backgrounds, but we all came and we all joined around this one thing.
Yeah.
And we all got along.
Yeah.
Because friendship truly is magic.
Said the thing.
Someone had to say it, right?
Roll credits.
So now that we've talked about what y'all think is the best part of fandom, what's the worst part of the fandom that you've experienced?
When people think that the fandom's going to end just because the show's ending or just because some conventions are closing. Speaking of which, there's postcards for BabsCon on the ends of the seats. If you haven't gotten one yet, please take one, pass it down.
BabsCon is the best con
Thank you.
ever.
Say the worst part would be
Preschool too. We love everybody.
That's fine. We could all live together. It would be the drama. There's been drama here and there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the worst parts of fandom can also just be equated to worst parts of humans being humans in general. We're just a big group of people, and you get a whole bunch of different personalities together, so you'll have that kind of conflict, and like you said, there's drama that kind of stews with it. I feel like it's always been manageable enough. Like there's never been something bad enough that's made me not want to be a part of it. So
I think in certain specific instances, certain people in the fandom have been bad influences. Overall, just fandom drama is a bad thing, but it can also be a good thing in a way. If we take a look at just the show, for example, and everything's all rainbows and unicorns every day, then there's nothing to watch. But if there's some conflict, if there's something to overcome, if there's something to learn, things grow and develop, and we have an actual entertainment value from it. Same thing in the fandom. It's a bunch of people trying to live and work and play together, and of course there's going to be drama. But the thing that disappoints me the most, I guess, out of the fandom is people that don't learn from it, don't grow from it, don't apply things that you should be learning from watching the show and taking to heart and actually, making part of your human growth in a way. And, I just wish people would take more from the show and apply it in their lives.
I gotta say the worst part is some people always form cliques, you know what I mean? Like in high school, everyone forms those cliques. A lot of fandoms have those cliques, but with the Brony fandom, it seems like those cliques can intermesh at sometimes, but sometimes people are assholes to the other cliques in the fandom.
That's the funny thing, is I don't know if I've necessarily been around long enough to know anything of the negative, because the couple years I was in there, everything was great. Everything was really nice and accepting. I think the only thing that I really noticed was that there was this, the outside world to the fandom. There was this stigma that was really hitting it hard, especially early on. And there, it was like part of the pop culture joke, like everyone made fun of it. Like this is,
You like ponies?
right? Like, you, a dude, what's going on here? And so there was like this weird, for a very long time, and I don't think it necessarily went away per se, but it definitely didn't grow, luckily. And people were more free to kind of accept and be part of the fandom as I saw it go along.
What's funny is that I feel like a lot of that kind of backlash, though, is also what made the community so strong at the beginning, is that everyone was like, yeah, we like this show. And we were okay with those that didn't understand it. And we were like, hey, we got our cool group and we're having fun. So, yeah.
So what's your most memorable experience while you've been in this fandom, or when you were in the fandom?
Sure. It was the first time I met Lauren Faust at a sneak preview at the first Brony documentary, and this was years ago. I met her in person, and it was a really magical moment for me in that one time. I also want to give out a shout out to Lyle right there, who was in the documentary.
Oh, hello.
Just put him on the spot.
So I've made so many memories with this fandom and at conventions and with people I've met through the show. Like so many of those memories, I always usually come back to. We do this show called Whose Line. It's Whose Line Is It Anyways, but a ponified version of it at a lot of the conventions. And there's just so many moments that come out of those that are just so funny. But probably one of the coolest heartfelt moments I've ever seen occurred at BronyCon in Baltimore one year. And I was with my group of friends, and we were in the hotel lobby, and there was this young girl that had come up to us, and she knew who we all were, and was just a big fan of everybody. She was like, "Oh my gosh, it's Jack's Blade! Oh my gosh, it's Saber's Park!" And it was really cute, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, this is great!" And she was talking to us about show stuff and whatnot, and then we saw that her father was there, kind of, just kind of keeping an eye on things, just watching her, and a couple of us approached him just to be like, "Hey, just don't want to make sure we're not taking up your time or making you uncomfortable or anything," and he told us, he's like, "You know what? Actually, no. This is one of the most important things I've ever seen happen to her. Her name was Grayson, and he was just telling us about how she's had all these issues with bullying at school and just not being able to make friends and whatnot, and seeing how she was able to interact with not just us, but just the community at that convention. He's like, this is honestly like one of the greatest things I've ever seen for my daughter. And that to me was just like, it made me realize that in the position that I've been as a content creator, the positive impact that I can have, that any of us can have on somebody, is that to me was like one of the coolest things, and I've held on to that ever since that happened.
So in the past 5 years or so of running conventions and mostly dealing with VIPs at the conventions, I've had a lot of access and ability to see behind the scenes of what's going on and how things work and how they affect people just from afar. And I think all of my memories and best experiences have been with the show staff and watching the interactions they have with the fans. And knowing these people on a more personal level than most would, just because I interact with them more often and consistently throughout the year. I've come to be friends with many of them, but they are some of the most down-to-earth and wholesome people you'll ever find. And the amount of time and effort that they take in going out of their way to interact with their fans on a personal level, on a one-to-one. I've seen so many kids just, their eyes light up when they see these people, and they take the time with them. I've seen adults break down in tears with, telling their stories of their life and having one of the VIPs run up and give them a big hug, and just, it makes their day. Those kind of interactions and moments are some of the best I've ever experienced, and one of the main reasons why I spend my time and effort in putting into the fandom and making those kind of things available to happen.
I could say one of my best experiences were being VIP security and driving the VAs around all the voice actors. But I gotta say, one of these experiences in this fandom that I enjoyed the most was I went to Comics Plus in El Cajon here locally, and I got some My Little Pony comics, the way I'm dressed currently, and went up to the counter, and the lady said, "Are these for your daughter?" And I went, "No, these are for me." And she was taken aback, like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a brony. I don't fit the stereotype."
I got nothing for you guys, man. You guys did great stories.
Yeah, where have you been?
I know, right?
You picked your seat.
So wait. I wanted to do
go
mine. So the very first meetup that I ever went to, like my very first Brony meetup in the NorCal Bronies group, we took this picture at the very end, and it was just like in someone's backyard. And then years later, I've now been involved in BabsCon. I've been involved further in the fandom. Someone said, "Hey, look at this old picture that I found of us." And the picture was my very first meetup, but it's like literally the entire staff of BabsCon, and it's all the friends, people that I've made since then. And I didn't really remember like who was at the very first meetup I ever went to, but I found out that just like the ponies in the cutie mark, the stories of how they got the cutie marks, it's like we were like destined to be together. It's like we knew each other before we even truly met. So that's a really memorable experience for me.
Now, if you met someone who has never watched My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, how would you pitch it to them?
I always see like what other fandoms are they into, and then try to tie it into that. So if they're into Star Trek, say, hey, Q from John Delancey, the actor of Q, is the voice of a chaotic element of chaos. I also be like, hey, do you like Weird Al Yankovic? Hey, check out this episode. Usually through the guest actors and stuff like that. Or if they're just like really into high fantasy stories, or if you know what kind of genre or what kind of conflicts they like in their stories, there's definitely one that My Little Pony Friendship is Magic has.
I'd say it's a well-written and well-animated show with lots of memorable characters and positive messages.
So a lot of people may not know me, but I actually was on the Steve Harvey show as a brony, and
I remember that.
yeah, and it was a segment called "Is It Weird?" And I wasn't allowed, they told me beforehand, like, you're not allowed to say it's weird. And I'm like, dang it. Because I always open it up with, so this is weird, but. Yeah, no, the reason I bring that up is sometimes it's just kind of figuring out how somebody can relate to it. And definitely not being pushy with it. Just being like, hey, here's a show that I enjoy. Here's why I enjoy it. Maybe this is something you'd be interested in, maybe not. But yeah, I think it tends to work out that if you let someone decide for themselves they want to watch the show, that's when you have the best chance of someone actually getting into it.
So I just echo what most of the people have said here, is this show has so much depth to it, so much diversity in it, that you can find an episode that'll fit with practically anyone, any mentality, any kind of likes, dislikes. They're gonna find something that'll like in the show somewhere. I was hooked from the very first episode just for the sarcastic element in one of the lines where they're sitting there in the forest and Pinky's like, oh, you just laugh away all your fears. And the song starts and Twilight's like, she's not gonna sing, is she? And Rarity's like, she is. It's like, that right there encapsulates me and my sarcasm and just like, oh my gosh, this show just hit a nerve. For introducing it to other people, I found, the end of season 4 with the big shootout with Tirek, the fans of like a Dragon Ball Z, just they latch on to that. It's like, wow, this is a little kid's show? Whoa. Or even the episode with Scootaloo and the Kingdom Crusaders at the beginning of season 4 with, she's kind of suffering and trying to fly and just really can't work it into this episode's arc of being a Pegasus and playing her part, and she feels that she's failed in that regard. For my sister, her first daughter suffers from Rett syndrome. I don't know if anybody really understands what that is, but it's a very debilitating disease and limits her ability to do practically everything. And just to be handicapped in that way and to not be able to express yourself or realize a full potential like your friends might or others that you see around you, an episode like that truly hits home. And I think, like I said, there's an episode in MLP for everyone.
Well, nothing's harder when it comes to explaining My Little Pony to somebody than your girlfriend that you just started dating and that you wound up marrying. She still doesn't get it, and I'm still having trouble to get her to watch an episode all the way through. I mean, it's like, the way I started it off was I eased it in. So one of my friends has this pony tattoo on them. What do you think about that? Well, I mean, that's okay as long as, I've heard there's these other bronies that like the ponies a little bit too much. I'm like, oh, well, no, it's not like that. And then on our 4th date, I'm like, yeah, I'm a brony.
How did she take it?
She married me, so.
Right there on the spot, she's like,
oh yeah, she's like, take me now.
went pretty good.
I mean, it depends on the person, really. Like, if it's Kyle who punches holes in drywall, you don't want to talk to him about ponies.
But he might like it. That's the thing. It's something that can relate to almost anyone. I think that's why I got into it in the first place anyway, was I liked the humor. It was funny. It was something that made me laugh. It was something that made me giggle. And that's how I would, if I wanted to share something like that with someone else, I would go with the humor aspect. Like, that's the part that I think everyone, that's kind of universal for a lot of people. They want to see something that will tickle their funny bone in some way, shape, or form. And there's always an episode that you'll find where the humor is just so ridiculous that you can't help but laugh that something like that happened and someone thought of that joke and put it out there for the people to see. So I think there's something for everyone. I think that's the thing with this show. There's always something for everyone.
Yeah, I see what it's kind of like Animaniacs when my parents would watch it with me. It's like, you don't get It's a show that you could watch with your children without wanting to kill yourself while watching it, like Dora the Explorer, as an example. Hey, it's PG. I didn't say any bad words.
So who do you think is the best character in the show, and who has been the best villain?
Are we really going to do best pony?
That's slightly different than the questions we. No.
There will be a bloodbath.
My favorite character is Fluttershy, and it's because she represents the element of kindness. And I think that when people think of kindness, they see that as a weakness. But her episodes and just her as a character show that kindness can be a strength. And I think it's very important that we all use kindness as one of the tools in our repertoire to solve conflicts. Because people tend to dismiss kindness and go with more assertive approaches to solve their problems. In terms of villains, I'm really digging Cozy Glow. Like, she is menacing in later seasons when she sings. Like, she has this like super evil laugh. I love her. She is really amazing.
I think best character is Rainbow Dash, because without her doing that rainbow in that one episode, none of the main five would have gotten their cutie marks at all. And for best villain, I'd say Queen Chrysalis. Yeah, she didn't want to be reformed. She didn't want to be friends with Starfire, whatever her name is. I don't remember. Her. Yeah, Starlight. Yep.
My favorite pony is the element of honesty, Rainbow Dash.
Best background pony.
I'm sorry, the true element of honesty.
Shots fired.
No, my wife says Applejack. But yeah, we always, my group of friends were always joking about how like Rainbow Dash is always the blunt one with the truth. I don't know about this, but no, Rainbow Dash was the first character who truly surprised me when I first watched the show. The first episode, I wasn't expecting to see this kind of tomboyish character, and then I'm like, okay, she's awesome. I just need to, and she'll tell you herself that she's awesome. But yeah, I wasn't expecting that, so I've been loyal to Rainbow Dash ever since the beginning. Favorite, I think I'll say my favorite villain. I love the dynamic right now that's going on in the last season with the trio and what they're doing with Grogar, but there's such a great dynamic there, and it's hard because I've always said Queen Chrysalis has been my favorite, but I think one of the most underrated villains in the show, back when Starlight Glimmer, for those that remember this episode, she went through all the scenarios of if each villain was able to have their way with Equestria, and each time Twilight and Starlight agreed that it got worse and worse. So they would show this villain, it gets worse, they'd show this villain. I don't think a lot of people realized that the last scenario was Flim and Flam. Apparently much worse than Tyrek. Who knew?
So for best pony, I'll have to just say that the one I relate to the most is Twilight and her clones, which you can extrapolate to Sunset and Starlight as well, because they're basically the same kind of character, just presented in a little bit different fashion. I also kind of relate on a parental level with Celestia, just looking out for my kids and wanting the best for them and seeing them grow and develop. And hopefully I've taught them enough that they can get along and be successful in life.
So she's your favorite villain?
In a way.
I just like to sit on the sidelines and watch them just deal with
the villain, though, like Grace kind of said, I'm kind of partial to Flim and Flam. I think their trickster abilities and ways of bending the truth lent a lot of weight to their believability as realistic villains, not just magical villains or, I'm going to be the overpowered person that comes in and ruins everything. But Flim and Flam are really bad at being, or good at being bad. And also Trixie, because Trixie.
My favorite character is a rarity, because she is a diva and a pimp, small town business owner who's expanded her empire. I mean, come on. What's not to love? She's a powerful woman. I love that. And it's like she is the way she is, and she's also generous. She's like, I have this wealth, but I'm not going to be a Bogart with it. I'm going to give it. Well,
She
she's
pays
not a
more than minimum
communist.
wage.
She's not spreading the wealth around. but she knows to be generous. And I gotta say, villains.
We took
You
them all.
guys took them. I'd say Flim and Flam because I envy them. I want money. I love money.
Well, since there's so many flim and flams, I'm going to change my answer to M.A. Larson as my villain.
There you go. Those damn wings.
Oh man. See, this is the worst because I'm going to be the villain here because I don't remember names.
You are best villain.
I know, I was because Rarity was fine, for me as well.
No, you can't have her.
Too bad. He was already there. I don't know what it was.
Do you even remember which one Rarity was?
I did purple.
Very good.
Wow, hey now. Here's where I'm going to ask the question because I can't remember the name. There was one with that, she wore a witch's hat.
Trixie.
Okay. Yeah, so
Wow, okay.
I don't remember.
You got out of Fandom a while ago.
It was
And there's always
around-
Discord.
It was yeah, Discord exists. I knew about Discord.
You have basically 3 or 4 villains to pick from.
Yeah,
every time
I have a
frame.
very small pool.
We have more.
Just wait till he finds
Come
out
back.
Twilight has wings, guys.
No, I knew. Well, that was a.
Wait, can I
And she's
change
got a
can I
castle.
change it to Twilight is the best villain?
Yes, you can.
That rocked the fandom. I remember that rocking the fandom actually quite a bit when that reveal happened. So.
That was like the Titanic first hitting the iceberg.
Really, really quick aside. I like that your favorite pony was Rarity and your favorite villain was Flim and Flam because in a way they're sort of like the two sides of the same coin because they're both like
They cancel each
they're
other out.
They're both business ponies and they both want to expand their empire, but one does it through generosity and one does it through greed.
It's like
Analysis.
yin and yang. Come on.
That's right.
So we've
Gotta
been
have the
told
balance.
that we only have a couple more minutes left. So I'm going to ask you a few more questions, then I'm going to open the questions up to the audience here. So, real simple question. Will the fandom survive past the end of the show?
Yes.
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 Okay.
That's quick.
Now,
That's an easy question.
in the future, when
Yeah, I didn't-
archaeologists digs up the past, what
I didn't get to
then
answer.
artifact would be representative of the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic fandom?
They just dig up a cosplayer that's still dressed in a costume. What happened?
It'd probably be all the convention lanyards.
All the unsold plushies.
Yes.
That's the plushies.
Maybe
There's piles of them.
Oh my god.
maybe all those like little mini pony figurines that you can get, and they're gonna find like a ton of them, and they're like, wow, these ponies are so diverse and so interesting in their own ways, and that represents the fandom right there.
An artifact would be like a few comics at a furry convention. Oh yeah, hey, ponies was a thing 20 years ago.
It's gonna be the comeback because I still have mine from 2011. Like this thing survived, and it even has little.
Oh wow, look at that, that's vintage.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. All right.
And they get the name of the manufacturer for that.
So, what do you want to see in Gen 5?
Ponies.
You see, you have to clarify that these days, don't you?
I'd like to see some ponies.
Live action like cats.
No, I
Oh god!
Human faces on the ponies.
Live action like cats. Let's make it happen.
It's just the ponies with human faces. They're four-legged.
This is a really good
They just
question
have
here.
human
So,
faces.
Gen 1, we had more true-to-life ponies from the original manufacturer of the toy lines. The next two and a half generations, they made them more kid-friendly, bubbly, round, playful.
Kid-friendly?
Ugly.
Like younger kid-friendly.
Oh,
They tried to mess with some of the animation and it just made it weird. I really dig the Gen 4 stuff, mainly because they kept it in a fantasy world setting. If anything, I hope they maintain that kind of a style for the worldscaping of any next generation. I don't want to see it humanized. I don't want to see ponies riding around in cars. I want to see a fantasy world with magical horses.
You don't want anthro ponies.
I don't want any anthroponics. I mean, I like that the show has some human elements and they've ponified certain cities like Manhattan and things like that. That's interesting, but they've done it still in a horse fashion. They're pulling horse taxis, not actual motorized cars.
It should be a checkered cat.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And one of the biggest things that drew me in was the fantasy world and going back to that Gen 1 type where you have dragons and you have wizards and you have magic and just the fantasy
Didn't
makes
Gen 1
it
have humans in it?
work. It did have a human, but it was a human drawn into a fantasy world. So
It was an isekai anime.
I'm just imagining non-anthro ponies trying to drive cars right now.
It's like this. I've drawn it a lot.
well, it's like ponies trying to play the
Kind of
piano.
like this. Their hands aren't grabbing the wheels. They're just like.
I mean, a lot of what made Generation 4 a success, I feel like if they just, take that saying of don't fix what's not broken, if they just, stick with a lot of the similar, I guess, just like, because they figured out in Generation 4 what's been working.
Take the show they have, rewind it 1,000 years and give us that.
That'd be cool.
Or fast forward 1,000 years and give us what comes next.
That'd be cool.
But keep
So
the same
I don't know,
world. That would be great.
Make
Let's
all
do that.
make all the villains the good guys and the main six the bad guys, and then go.
The show has told us a whole bunch about what happened 1,000 years ago, but hasn't shown it to us. We could make a whole series about that.
I think they're just making it all up.
Let's do it.
What I would like to see from Gen
Pitch it to
4,
Hasbro.
I mean Gen 5 is Gen 4. No, but seriously, it's like they should stick with the formula. I guess they're changing the style of the characters,
Yes.
Maybe.
but it's don't make it too kiddie. Because then it's gonna be like a Nick Jr. show, and you don't want to watch that.
Yeah, they need to embrace again that for the family, for everybody. The parents
Yeah,
can enjoy
yeah,
it,
exactly.
the kids can enjoy it.
And I think the fantasy world best represents that ability to have both kids and adults enjoying the same.
And dudes in college that didn't realize they were into ponies, and here they go.
That would be meta.
All of us.
So how do we learn more about the organizations that you might represent?
That might represent. So to learn more about BabsCon, the Bay Area Brony Spectacular, you can go to babscon.com. I also have a bunch of these discount tickets if you guys want some. They're all around here. The earlier question about is the fandom going to die? No, but no one can predict the future. It's easier to build the future than it is to predict it. So if you want the fandom to continue, please continue supporting us, continue supporting your local conventions, and continue making art and making awesome things. Thank you.
What was the question again?
How do we learn more about the organizations which you might be a part of?
Oh, okay. Well, you can search up SoCal Bronies on Facebook, or you can go to meetup.com and search for it, and you can sign up.
So for me, it's my YouTube channel, AC Race Best, spelled like that. And yeah, I've been doing videos since when I got into the fandom. Probably the more popular ones are the Bronies Reacts that we do. But there's a whole bunch of stuff, including a vlog from Comic-Con, so that'll be neat. But yeah, so AC Race Best, check me out. And I just want to say that I want to vouch for BabsCon and Everfree Northwest as both incredible conventions. And if you guys have the chance to do both, do both. They've been great every year I've been. So yeah, hit up, like they said, hit up your conventions. They're such a good time.
I have to agree with that. I don't remember much, but
Which is a
conventions
sign.
are
It was a
awesome.
good time.
Yeah, if you're interested in learning more about Everfree, I'm here afterwards if you want to hang out. everfreenw.com, check out our website, and our upcoming event next year is going to be in August, right around the same time of year in Seattle, Washington.
Well, I guess I represent the artists of the fandom. Support your fan artists. If you really like them, don't be afraid to comment. We like to hear support. To us, it's support. You guys commenting, and just support the artists.
Like, subscribe, commission.
Like, subscribe, Sketchy Wolf, DeviantArt, all the other Twitter handle things. I don't use Twitter.
That's how he got the name. Sketchy.
Yeah, follow their stuff. I do non-brony stuff, so I mean, don't follow me. Follow
All
them.
right, don't listen.
Thanks for coming out, everybody.
Thanks everyone for coming. If we can get everyone who's still here, can you get closer? And so I can take a picture of you, so I can load it up onto Wikipedia.
This is for blackmail, so please.
If you don't want to be in the picture, of course, you don't have to be in it. But if we could get everyone
Scoot to the middle.
Just scoot in the center, and so I can get a picture of y'all. This will be uploaded to Wikimedia Commons. Afterwards, there's going to be the July meetup for the San Diego portion of SoCal Bronies over at the Marina Kitchen. Is that Marina Kitchen?
I just got drunk over there.
Which is the bar here for the hotel. And for those who edit Wikipedia, we're going to be doing a thing over at the library tomorrow at 1 p.m. But if everyone could come here to the center. And,
Come on, guys, we're all friends.
and so that way we can replace the picture of the Germany Bronies on the fandom page on Wikipedia.
Take that.
Take down the Germans.
While you're all doing that, something I just wanted to emphasize is that a lot of conventions are often charitable organizations, and so by supporting your local convention, you're also supporting charity. Take pictures. BabsCon just announced their charities earlier today. The Game Academy and the Rainbow Community Center of Contra Costa County. They're both great organizations, so please support us. Does Everfree know their charity?
Yeah, we've most recently supported the Washington Autism Alliance and Advocacy Group, WA.
Wow.
We may choose to continue supporting them in the future, but we definitely have a charity that we support each year through our efforts. So both of our organizations are registered 501c3s, so
Yes.
feel free to donate and help support us in any way you can. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you for coming on out, guys. This was fun. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for your
Thanks
support.
everyone for coming, and hopefully we'll have a panelist.
You're all breathtaking.
I'm breathtaking.
Breathtaking.
If anyone wants discounts on their BabsCon badges, take one of these postcards. They're all over the
And
place.
also for the, let's thank the people from the programming department for supporting us. This convention couldn't happen without the volunteers, and please clean up after yourselves. And so that way we are good guests to the hotel.
Yeah.
Well, I left
We've all been involved in cons, and this is like definitely the biggest one, so we can't even fathom the amount of work that they do. So thank you guys.
Bye, have a beautiful time.